Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I thought I should start. May I ask two questions with Hazur's permission?
Each question with how many branches?
Just one branch, hopefully.
Okay, please.
First question, Hazur, is about the parallel spread that should have been historically between what Jesus taught in his first 35 years, and then that spread as Christianity. But the other 85 years, we don't really have any sort of knowledge about any spread of his message in the world. There's no sort of development comparatively.
That means you have not done your homework in Christian history. What you're saying is wrong. While Jesus was in Kashmir, the Ammonites, who adhered strictly to the unity of God and also to the religion of Torah, they were the real representatives who spread their message far and wide. So because of people of later ages who were far more influenced by St. Paul, and in the West mostly, they are the people, they have been misreading the history or misinterpreting it, or mispresenting it. So Christianity spread both in Kashmir and in the Middle Eastern areas.
It hasn't carried through to these ages.
Fine?
It hasn't carried forward to these ages.
It has, but only for those who read. If you shut your eyes to the history, then it cannot reach you, you cannot understand it. This is why I said you have not done your homework properly. Next question, please.
Next question is about Afghanistan.
Yes.
We often say that the suffering of Afghanistan is partly due to what they did to the two Ahmadis, execution of...
No, you cannot say that. I have spoken on this subject even before. The persecution of the the misery of Afghans relates to their character, which indicates a distorted character of the Jewish people. Basically, they are Jewish people. Among them were great people who sacrificed everything they had for the sake of Christianity when Christ came, the true Christianity, I mean. But a large majority among them opposed Christ and were so stone-hearted about his message that they did everything to destroy him and his message. Now you are seeing another version of the same Jewish people in a different garb. So that is why they treated Hazrat Sahibzada Abdul Latif Sahib Shaheed with the same hard-heartedness. So apparently their misery relates to his time, but it relates to their basic fundamental character. As long as that is not changed, they will continue to suffer.
Or do they have
not for you to propose, not for them to follow. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Hazur, my name is Sayyid Mansoor Ahmed. My father's name is Sayyid Nasir Ahmed. I'm from Sutton Jamaat.
Yes.
Hazur, before I ask any questions, I'd like to say that my questions are quite vast, and I'll be more than happy if you just gave me references for books or journals, etc.
Yes, please.
Okay. I'd like your permission to ask two questions as well, please, Hazur.
What?
I'd like your permission to ask two questions.
Okay, please do.
Okay. The first question is that I'm a psychology student, and in the field of psychology, I am most interested in abnormal psychology. However, in this field, as in most psychology, there are hundreds of models and theories which try to explain the causes of and cures for mental illness. How does Islam explain the causes of and cures for mental illness?
Causes of?
Mental illness, insanity.
Mental illness can be of two types. Number one, inherited. So as far as the inherited mental illness is concerned, there is no known treatment for that. They are born with that illness, and within the sphere of their inner world, they will be answerable. Within the sphere. This is the meaning of La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah does not load anybody beyond his capacity. So this is the one part which bothers many people. That what about their fate? How will they be treated? So Allah knows them and their hearts and what passes within them. Among many crooked people, we know there are great criminals as well. And among many crooked people, there are innocent people who think well of others. So we do not decide, Allah knows, so He decides. The second type of illness is which has some background of ill treatment in the childhood. Most often the psychic mental diseases are born or take root during childhood. And it all depends on their parents, how they treat their own children, and if they think they can treat them as they like and they run away with it, it's not true. Most cases which have come to my knowledge, whenever I have analyzed them, I have found that basically either they were ill-treated by their parents, or if they were orphans, by those who took care of them. So most cases belong to that second part. Some may fall prey to the society, the evil of society, become drug addicts and so on and so forth. That's a different category altogether. They bring this evil upon themselves, and we are not responsible for that. Right? Thank you.
Okay. Can I ask my second question, please?
Wasn't it all the questions?
No, yeah.
Okay.
My second question...
My answer was bigger than your question demanded.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
My second question relates to the concept of the self.
The
concept of the self.
Yes.
Many people have tried to explain the idea of the self. Some people have argued that your self remains the same throughout life, while others disagree. And some have argued that there are many different selves within the human. What is Islam's viewpoint on the concept of the self?
According to Islam, self remains the same inner consciousness of one's existence. So that inner consciousness is in fact referred to as soul or Atma or mind, whatever name you call it. It remains the same insplitable central ego or awareness of oneself. So this remains so all one's life. Thank you.
Right. Jazakumullah.
The manifestation is different in different people, but fundamentally it remains the same.
Assalamu alaikum, Mazur.
Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Sayyid Ahmed from Sassan Jamaat, and my question is, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is part of a chapter. I never hear this whenever you or Imam Sahib recite Surah Al-Fatiha in Maghrib or Isha prayer. Why is that?
Do you not say your prayer behind any other imam?
Yeah.
So why have you picked out only two of us? Not only among Ahmadi imams, but among a large number of Sunni imams, you do not hear this. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim pronounced in a loud voice. But they always say Bismillah within their heart. It is the Shafi'is who are popular largely in many Middle Eastern countries, who insist on saying Bismillah aloud. But as far as the saying of Bismillah is concerned, that is not a bone of contention at all. All say Bismillah. The bone of contention is only whether you should say it aloud or within your heart. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Muzaffar Zafar, son of Dr. Zafar from Clapham. My question takes its origin because I have an interest in reading biography, and I wanted to ask Hazur, looking back over your childhood, Hazur, what one incident comes to your mind that you feel has played a very major role in influencing your personality?
That incident, I think, occurs to everybody once in a lifetime, particularly when just one begins to become adult and a new personality is born out of him. Many believers pass through that critical period when they begin to entertain doubts. The doubts may be of different type, but some entertain doubts only in the sense that do we believe because our parents did so, or have we come across a personal evidence of the existence of God? That was the most critical moment in my life when I passed through that trial. And with the grace of Allah, He led me to Himself in a manner that after that there was no question of doubt left. Thank you.
Could I have permission to add a second part onto that or not?
What?
Just carrying the theme further, since Hazur has taken up the position of Khalifa, what do you personally find the most challenging aspect of this unique position?
The whole world is challenging. Inside, outside, Ahmadis in themselves are a challenge because I am responsible as far as it is within my power to improve their quality of life. And as far as the rest of the world, the entire world is being addressed by me on behalf of Islam, on behalf of the Holy Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's the biggest possible challenge you can conceive. Thank you. Yes, Lon Sahib, what is it?
My name is Ghalib Loan from New Modern Jamaat. Hazur, I was a bit confused on one aspect I just want to talk about, and that was why was Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad alayhi salam and Hazrat Isa alayhi salam given the title the Messiah?
Messiah is what you call Christ. Messiah is a title given to a prophet of God who has some distinct qualities other than prophets. So previous prophets were never given the title of Messiah. Only first time you hear of Messiah being born among the Jewish people, and that is the Christ. You understand? What are the exceptional qualities which make a Messiah? basically, the Messiah is expected not to defend himself when he is attacked by force. Otherwise, all previous prophets were given the fundamental rights of defending themselves with whatever weapons they were attacked. But in the life of Messiah, you do not see that. His answer was love and persuasion and nothing else. And Allah demonstrated to the whole world that the allegation that prophets become successful because of their physical prowess or their being more powerful than their enemies is totally wrong. Here is the case of a Messiah who required his followers to abandon sword and offer themselves as a fodder for sword. Yet they became successful. So this history was to be repeated at the time of Hazrat Masih Maud in the same manner. Like you know, more than any other non-Ahmadi can possibly understand that despite all coercion, all possible invasions of Ahmadis' fundamental rights, we still persist with perfect patience and do not hit back. Is that right or wrong? So this
Right.
is the Messiah word. Huh?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Anjum Ahmadi, and my question is, why has Allah told man to worship him and not any other animal to worship him?
How do you know that Allah has not told other animals not to worship him? If you had read the Quran with translation, then you will understand it from many, many verses that none in the universe is told not to worship, or none in the universe is exempted from worship of God. وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُمْ. But the problem is that you, O mankind, do not understand the way they praise Allah or they glorify Him. See? So in fact you cannot put yourself into others' minds, particularly into the minds of the lower order of species. And according to the Quran, even the inanimate objects, which you consider as dead matter, even they have a way of paying homage to Allah. What their way is, it can be explained by me in a different manner, but there is just one explanation. They may have some other consciousness within their unconsciousness which we cannot visualize. Thank you. Ahmadi family has taken over now, huh?
I'm afraid so.
The loans as well, the Anjums, etc. Everybody belongs to an Ahmadi family.
Keep us in your prayers, please. Okay,
You know, you shouldn't be surprised about the word Ahmadi. This doesn't mean that only they are Ahmadis and the rest are non-Ahmadis. But somehow they call themselves Ahmadis, and this is how they're identified. Right?
Okay, so one of the objections raised against Hazrat Masih Maud by our non-Ahmadi brethren is that before claiming to be the promised Messiah and a prophet, he himself believed in the finality of prophethood and in the physical ascent and descent of Hazrat Isa.
Before or after?
Before registering his messianic claims.
Both before and after, he continued to believe in the finality of Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but in the first part, he understood from it he received from it a limited message confined only to a smaller area. But as he grew, he received revelations from Allah which further explained the true meaning of Khatam al-Nabiyyin. So never, even at a single moment during his life, he rejected the Khatamiyat of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu. Only his understanding continued to improve and evolve. And that was done with Allah's guidance. So the allegation is absolutely wrong. I have to draw your attention to many books of Hazrat Masih Maud written at different times. In all books, Khatamiyat is described as the most essential belief which every Muslim should share. So this allegation is wrong, right?
I was referring to also the physical ascent and descent of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. To my study, I believe that Hazrat Masih Maud before claiming to be,
that's right.
He also believed in the physical ascent and descent of Hazrat Isa.
That's right. That's what he believed.
Ji.
Before Allah told him.
Yes.
Not to believe in this.
No. Yes.
So any prophet can have a different view about things which, as long as Allah rectifies that view, continues to be the same. You see, Qibla, for instance, was destined to be Khana Kaaba in Mecca. But as long as Allah did not tell it to Rasulullah Sallam specifically, he continued to believe in the Qibla Awwal, that is Palestine. And not only that, he faced towards that Qibla Awwal during his prayers. So when Allah told him, no, this is the Qibla, while in prayer he turned his face towards Khana Kaaba. So these things happen. This shows the true fear of Allah among these people, among these prophets of Allah. They do not imagine things from themselves. They do not interpret things out of their own wisdom alone. They keep waiting for Allah's wahi. So this was the case of Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ, when Allah showered upon him a revelation which was showered upon him like rain. Repeatedly he was told that you are the Masih, and the older Masih is not the same person who was to descend. He changed. And then when out of that the question of Khatam al-Nabiyyat arose within the sphere, that old Messiah was a prophet. Would he be a prophet as well? Then he took up this question, this issue, and Allah guided him in the explanation which was revealed to him later. So both these things are interconnected. Thank you. Janab.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Farmaiye. I'm sorry. Please farmao.
Hazur,
is there any word for farmao in English?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
So we have to revert to Urdu for that.
Hazur, America's role in the Middle East has been well exposed, especially during the Gulf War khutbahs. In the light of the frustration and helplessness felt by the Muslim masses, is there any justification for targeting certain American embassies or?
You see, embassies have their own protection granted to them by God.
Yeah.
Nobody can change it. If one is too Muslim, whatever they do, they can only ask them to pack up and go. But they cannot use violence against the embassies because it is the Holy Quran which provides the right ambassadors the right of protection. Throughout his life, Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam displayed that. So an ambassador is absolutely free. He can only be told to leave. But while within the territory of some king or anybody, as an ambassador, he cannot be molested. You understand?
Yes. If I can just add, what about certain, say, civilian American targets, not military?
The same is true of them. What is their fault? The civilians, in fact, come visit these countries after their sanctions. So nowadays, the system of passport and visa creates a new brand of ambassadorhood. When you invite a foreigner to your country and issue him visa, with the visa goes the guarantee that your interest in our country will remain secure. So if anybody has crashed through the borders of a country, he may be treated whatever the law of the land requires. But those who have been granted visas, they should not be ill-treated at all. Again, they can be told to leave, that's all.
Assalamualaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, rahmatullah.
Nasir Ahmed Chaudhary from Preston.
How many?
Nasir Ahmed Chaudhary from Preston. From Preston Jamaat. Just a question. What are the basic requirements that a person needs to attain in order for them to look for getting married?
I think it's time for you to get married.
I am already
married. Are you married?
I'm married.
I see.
I'm married.
So it's time for you to look married.
That's true.
Why, when you're already married, why are you asking about the age? You think you married rather hastily?
No, I just think that people, a lot of MDs nowadays offer many excuses, like they don't have a job, they don't have a degree or education, and things like that to stop them from getting married.
As far as the excuses are genuine, there is no harm whatsoever. Because in Islam, the husband is required to take care of the economy of the house. So if he cannot support a wife and a family, he must wait, praying for Allah to give him opportunity to do so. So nobody else can have any objection against it. Right? Thank you.
Assalamualaikum Hazur, my name is Saad Idris and I'm from Red Bridge Jamaat.
From?
Red Bridge Jamaat.
Yes.
Hazur, my question is, recently we've witnessed some very heinous crimes in America especially, which have been perpetrated by very young children. Should those children be treated and punished exactly the same as the adults who perpetrate similar crimes?
Have you understood the question?
What he's saying is that
please,
in America,
when you speak, come slightly closer to the microphone.
Young children are committing crimes, and should they be punished just as the adults are punished for those crimes?
Yes, everybody should be punished for the crime he commits, but in accordance with his own understanding of things. If you do not punish the children who are called minor while they commit heinous crimes, you are sending a generation of such criminals to the future of the country, that when they become adults, they also become hardened criminals. So to have mercy on minors while they commit serious crimes is to be cruel to the rest of the society. So as such, it depends on the crime they commit. Small things can be, of course, ignored according to their state of mind, but serious crimes must not be ignored. Thank you.
This boy has taken 9 A stars in GCSE.
Now, just a minute. Come back to the microphone.
And he gives a lot of time to Jamaat.
Do you give a lot of time to the service of Jamaat?
As much as I can, by Hazur.
You do. And how many stars have you got in your examination?
9 by the grace of Allah.
9 A's.
Stars.
9 A stars. This is what I wanted to show to the rest, that I have come to register the fact that all Ahmadi boys and girls who did not care for their studies in the sense that their service to the Jamaat would interfere with their studies. So they continued to serve the cause of the Jamaat and also naturally paid attention to their studies. They have received such brilliant results that you cannot show the like of it in any other group in British society. So thank you so much, and do not forget to take your prize from me. The private secretary should note it, either here or when I return to London. Whenever you come to meet me, inshallah, I'll give you your prize. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum salam.
Aziz Ahmad Hafiz from Patni Jamaat.
Yes.
Hazur, in light of recent economic developments in Russia, how does Hazur view the future with regard to Russia and any effect on the rest of the world?
Recent development or deterioration?
Yes,
You see, this is a very complicated affair. The economy of Russia should not have failed. It is because of one-sided change in their political philosophy, while not taking care of what influence it will have, this sudden change, on their economy. This is what has brought about all the evil upon them. China has behaved far more sensibly. Chinese are changing their strict communist ideology slowly and gradually, while at the same time taking good care of their economy all over. Though their economy is not a model as yet, but they do not suffer from the same defects as Russia is suffering from. So things are improving in almost every area. So this is why I warned the Russian leadership right at the early time that you're moving too fast and you are heading towards disaster. Ravil Bukhari translated this message, which was written originally in English, into Arabic, and this was distributed far and wide. Even some newspapers of Russia published it. But they did not take heed. Why not? Maybe they might have taken heed, but because of the Western influences upon them. Particularly, the American mafia did not want them to come to their own. And perhaps American political policy also wanted them to remain involved in problems, and so that they could always turn to the West for help. So these are very complicated affairs, But unfortunately, this is exactly what is happening in Russia. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum and
Wa alaikum assalam.
My name is Kuram Ahmed and I'm from Newham Jamaat. And
yes.
My question is that in the Quran Majid it says that there's 7 Zameens and 7 Asmans, and apart from Earth, where else do you think there's life?
Huh? Where the life begins?
Yeah.
You see, how do you say that life began only on this planet Earth? According to the Holy Quran, in every universe there is life. Otherwise, the matter would be left to chance. So, if there is a God, a creator, then he must take care of evolution of inanimate objects into animate objects and those who begin to have their own free consciousness. This is what the message which I have received from various verses of the Quran. So there is life everywhere, but not of the same type. Life can be extremely diversified. We don't know what material is used for creating life in different planets or stars. You understand? So things of which we have not been given any knowledge by Allah, we do not possess that capacity to contemplate over the type of that knowledge. So this much should be sufficient for you, that there is life everywhere in the universe, and the form of life varies from that of ours. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum assalam.
My name is Vijat Hassan.
Your name is what?
Muhammad Vijat Hassan.
Yes.
My question is, what is the difference between Jesus and the promised Messiah?
Jesus was a prophet of Israel, Bani Israel. And Prophet Messiah is a prophet of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's ummah, that is Islam. That is the major difference. Right? Thank you. Wa alaikum assalam.
My name is Zahid Nepal, and I'm from South East London Jamaat.
Yes.
Huzur, you might have already answered the question, but I'm asking a question relating to marriage. About 2-3 years ago in England, there was a girl aged 13 and went to Turkey and got married, and there was a big outcry in England regarding that issue, especially about...
She was not an Ahmadi girl, was she?
No, she was not an Ahmadi.
One girl, yes.
One girl, yeah. And there was a big outcry in the UK regarding this issue.
No, but at the same time, I understand your point. According to the UK newspapers and television, there are thousands of conceptions among English girls who are below the age of 13. Is that right or wrong?
Yes, correct.
So if that girl was marriageable, why shouldn't she have married? Right?
Yep. Uzur, my question is, in Islam, how do we determine, and who is going to determine the maturity of someone? Say someone wants to get married.
You can't determine from outside, because people change. People are different. Individually, they are different from each other. So you cannot make a thumb rule for judging the maturity of anybody, but the doctors can possibly judge, but only possibly, because some girls come to maturity but they do not start menstruation even till late in life. Some cases come to me for treatment in which some ladies have reached the age of 25 or 26 and still they do not menstruate, but otherwise they know that they are mature. So this is a complicated affair which should be judged by doctors. Or the word of the girl should be taken as true. Thank you.
Second question, and I wonder if, I don't know whether Huzur has already answered this question.
Please.
I have a lot of friends who are sort of not sort of religious, sort of a lot of Ahmadis and non-Ahmadis. What, Huzur, one particular advice where I can give them that they can change, sort of, they can work on so they can change their lifestyle, they can...
You can bring to the notice of such boy the present state of an irreligious society, which is virtually irreligious, even if in name they believe. And the pollution in the society, the suffering of the society as a whole, should be a lesson for him. You should tell him to come and observe the comparative state of Ahmadis. It is not ideal, so I said comparative. But Ahmadis living in UK, both men and women, boys and girls, are far better off in their peace of mind than the rest of the society is. So you draw him closer softly and gradually by discussing of these things. You can't call him directly to God, because to begin with it's difficult for an atheist to start taking interest in the existence of God. But he can take interest in the reality around him, which he knows does exist. And through them, you can lead him on to God. Thank you.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur. I had two further questions, if with permission, Hazur would allow.
No, with the permission of Khudam al-Ahmadiyya, please.
Yeah, that has been requested.
Okay.
Jazakumullah.
Requested or granted?
Requested and granted.
Granted? Okay.
Sorry.
Please.
Hazur, some time ago, I believe, I may have been very young at the time, the Hazur advised that we should have good journalists within the Jamaat.
That's right, yes.
Are there any careers which Hazur feels that our students should follow which could be of potential benefit to the Jamaat in the future?
There are so many careers like physicians, like surgeons, like computer analysts, and also the one career you were mentioning is journalist. And also I believe that to become advocates is also very good. All these professions are good in their own spheres. But when I say very good, I say in the sense that among Ahmadis in UK, there are fewer advocates than I should have expected, or than they are needed. You see, it's a very important profession, and the Jews know its value. That is why in America, their influence is strongly aided by their capture of this profession of being lawyers. So when I say advocates, I do not mean those typical form of advocacy of lawyers. Lawyers in general I'm talking about, in fact. So I require Ahmadis to take more interest in law, and in every sphere of law, international law, family law, this law and that law. If they specifically draw their attention to this area, I think it will be very beneficial for Ahmadis in so many other areas of their professions as well. Thank you.
My second question now.
Yes, please.
So with regard to the revolution in people's hearts, which Muslim television MDR has been contributing to, how does Hazur see the future advancement of MTA in the coming years?
I think it's going to march forward by leaps and bounds. Already its rate of progress is much faster than the knowledgeable people in this field could ever expect. And that is what they have been noticing and expressing their wonder at this pace of the development of MTA, despite the paucity of our resources. When I say paucity of our resources, I am using a different language than it is understood by outsiders. When they speak of resources, they only understand resources in financial terms. They do not put into the word resources the honorary services which are rendered all over the world by tens of thousands of Ahmadis. And it is that part of running a television institution which is most expensive. So we do not have to spend a single penny on that. So that is why they're wonderstruck at our progress. And from other points of view, I believe that technology is developing now so fast that I'm sure it will become possible in the next century for MTA to reach not only through satellite dishes. Well, satellite dishes will be essential, but not only through their counterpart on the houses, antennas, etc. But I'm sure this technology is going to develop so fast that the governments will not be able to stop television services to reach homes, reach almost every home. So before that, we have been granted a footing in Britain. From then on, the restrictions will be improved on granting licenses to new companies. But because we have already got that, so inshallah, I hope in the next century, the spread of the message will be far wider than at the present time through MTA. Thank you. Inshallah. Yes, please.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम हुजूर, मेरा नाम फिदा है और मैं 7 का हूँ, मैं साउथ हॉल से आता हूँ।
क्या? आप अंग्रेजी नहीं बोलते? नए नए आए हैं यहाँ?
नहीं, मैं इंग्लिश बोल सकूँ।
तो फिर क्यों नहीं बोलते? यहाँ medium of speech is English. So when you know English so well, why don't you frame your question in English?
My
Please.
question is, when we grow old, why do we have to have beards?
Beards. Not all of us are required to have beards. Women are not required to have beards. So Allah has shown this distinction. He has created men with the potential to grow beards and created women without the potential to grow beards, except those who exceptionally do so and that destroys their life or bothers them so much that they go on searching for devices of removing their hair from their faces. Is that right or wrong? Right? So Allah has done this. Why should we change it? You don't have to bother for next few years, I suppose. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Zur.
Wa alaikum salam, rahmatullah.
My name is Nick or Nassim Brunos from Newham.
Yeah.
And I have just two questions, if I may. Okay, the first question is, what is meant in certain parts of the Holy Quran where Allah uses I, my, and me, and in other places He uses we, our, and us?
You see, the same is true of many governments. The Prime Minister says I, but the Supreme Head, virtually Supreme Head, or not virtually but nominally the Supreme Head, which is Queen, who used to be the real monarch in older days, uses the term we for us. And when she says we, she does not mean that she has become plural suddenly. What she means is that the entire people of Britain are with me when I say we. So this is exactly the style of God's addresses. When He speaks of things where He wants people to realize that the entire creation of Allah is with Him in the matters which He is expressing under the word we, then He uses that. When it is only to pay emphasis on His unity, then most often, as He does, He uses I in singular for Himself. Thank you.
My second question is there a scientific explanation for the effect of prayer?
For the?
Effect of prayer when we pray. A scientific explanation for it.
What do you mean by scientific? What is science?
I suppose, well, the reason I asked the question is the way that...
I'm not bothered about why you asked the question. I'm asking you the true meaning of word science and scientific. What does it mean? Whatever is based on solid evidence is scientific. It's not only physics and chemistry which are sciences. The basic interpretation of science from old times has always been this, that philosophy and science are divided into different parts. Philosophers base their beliefs on conjectures, on possibilities. But the scientists base their beliefs on what they observe. Now their observation may be in clash with their observation in some other fields. So they continue to try to solve the problem of this contradiction until they reach a stage when the contradiction is solved by their progress in their knowledge. But they do not deny what they observe. It may be against the law of nature as understood by them at a given point in time. But if they observe a thing, they admit, this is true, this is exactly what we observe. So this is how you find the history of science throughout ages. So now coming to this question, if there is a incontrovertible evidence in favor of the acceptance of prayer, then it will be unscientific to reject that evidence. I spoke during my last Urdu class on this very subject, and I quoted many examples where no scientific explanation can be given to contradict the evidence in favor of the acceptance of prayer. So this can be found everywhere, in every home, in every Ahmadi home in which Ahmadiyat is found truly and genuinely. Thousands upon thousands of examples can be quoted. But during that Urdu class, I quoted the example of what happened in the bomb blast in Nairobi. You see, hundreds of people were killed and thousands were injured, except for two, both for Ahmadis. Both should have been there at that time. But Allah contrived to save them. And this could not be said of any other person. In one case, the name of the person is Dawood, who is the brother of Wali Shah Sahib. He was given time to meet an officer in the embassy, in that building somewhere, of 11 o'clock. That was the time of the bomb blast. But suddenly, out of no reason, he was telephoned by the officer that please do not come at 11 o'clock, come at 10:30 instead. Or was it the other way around, I think? It was 10:30 was the blast time, and he was telephoned that do not come at 10:30, come at 11 o'clock. So he said yes. By the time the clock struck 11, the devastation had already taken place. So there was no question of his being there. The second was the case of an African Ahmadi who owns an office in that building permanently. So that morning, suddenly he fell ill, without any signs of illness during the previous night. He became so ill that it was impossible for him to go to his office. And these were the two exceptions from among the people who were saved. Now, this is just one case. We can go on quoting case after case after case in which no sensible man, regarding which no sensible man can deny the influence of prayer and the influence of God. I quoted before them one very interesting example of Hazrat Mir Muhammad Ismail Sahib Razillah Ta'ala anhu. Hazrat Mir Muhammad Ismail Sahib was the eldest son of Hazrat Mir Nasir Nawab Sahib. He was a brother of Hazrat Amma Jan, Nusrat Jahan Begum. All his life he had been totally dedicated to the prayers and the institution of prayers. He quoted many of his personal experiences for the benefit of the readers of Al-Fazl. I do not quote all his experiences, but just one, which is very interesting. He was expected to go visit another city, and he forgot to book his seat. and the distance was so large, and the season was winter, that he could not tolerate the thought of standing throughout his journey while the compartments were extremely cold during that season. So he prayed to God, and he realized that his prayer was heard. So he bought a ticket without reserving a seat and went to a compartment. In those days, it was not against the rules of railways to permit anyone to stand in a compartment where all seats were reserved. So that is how he took his ticket and entered the compartment, and in his own words, all seats were occupied with bedding spread out. There was no room whatsoever. So he said, so we waited for Allah's grace, standing by the door. And he addresses himself as we in that. Many Urdu-speaking people do that. So we waited for Allah's grace by the door, standing by the door, and knew it had to come. His belief was not shaken at all. So we waited and waited until a few minutes were left for the train to depart. And he said, I knew it's impossible that when I have a feeling that Allah has heard me, that I will be disappointed in that. So suddenly, just before the departure of the train, a man rushed into the same compartment and dragged a person away from his bed and told him to hurriedly pack his bedding, because he said, I have some very important work for which your presence here is essential. So he protested, but he dragged him out of the cabin. And as both of them left, Hazrat Mir Sahib took his bedding and put it on the same place. Now, these things are not just stray things appearing occasionally by chance. In the history of Ahmadiyyat, you read them so much, so many times, that for a truly scientific person, it is impossible to attribute chance to these factors. Right? Thank you. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum assalam.
My name is Imran al-Haq Khan from Manchester Jamaat. My grandfather was Dr. Ghafoor al-Haq Khan.
Yes, I know.
Okay. My father's name is Dr. Fahim al-Haq Khan.
Yeah.
Okay. Surprise, surprise.
And what else about your family?
Well, my other grandfather was called Dr. Siraj al-Haq Khan.
That's right. Thank you.
Okay.
Now the question.
And surprise, surprise, I'm actually a medical student as well. So,
yes, thank you.
I've studied neuroanatomy and neurophysiology quite extensively in my preclinical studies.
Right.
And I'm interested to know if Hazur could explain how the brain interacts with the soul or mind.
You see, this is a subject which is very interesting, but extremely complicated as well. And in my recent book on rationality, etc., I have taken up this subject in depth and in detail, not only in one chapter, but in many other relevant chapters. So it is impossible for me to speak on all that which is spread over in different chapters of that book. So you better take that book and try to read it with full concentration. So if your mind, you're talking of mind, is strong enough to continue to concentrate on this subject, I'm sure you will be well rewarded.
Inshallah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Could I possibly ask a second question?
Yes, please.
If that's okay, right. Also on the sort of topic of psychology and sort of neurology, I wonder if you could sort of briefly explain the phenomenon of past life hypnotic regression from a logical Islamic viewpoint.
Which point?
Hypnotic.
Why is it Russian?
No, sorry.
It's not Russian.
Past life hypnotic regression.
I see. Hypnotic regression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean by this term, hypnotic regression? Please, right. I don't understand this term.
Okay. Well, there have been cases, documented, where people have undergone hypnosis and they have claimed to have experienced past lives in sort of...
You mean the subject of life after life?
Yeah, reincarnation.
Reincarnation, etc.
Yeah.
Reincarnation is only a myth and no more. There is no evidence. I'm sorry. No scientific evidence of reincarnation. As far as your feelings are concerned, that perhaps you have seen these environments, you have been in this place before. As far as that is concerned, if you contemplate on such experiences yourself, you'll be amazed to find that many a time you will resolve the problem by connecting this experience to some other similar experience in this life, not in the previous life. So sometimes it happens that you have a feeling like that, but when and if you analyze that feeling with relation to your own past in this life, many a time you are led to the events which created this impression upon you. Number two, this concept of Hindu philosophy, the concept of transmigration, has a completely different philosophy than many wishes from the West would like to have. They believe that because they have the same feeling of being in the same world in their previous generation, so it must be true. This is false, because according to strictly to the theory of transmigration, those people who are good, they are not brought back to this world at all. They are sent back to eternity, free from matter. So the souls live till almost eternity. I mean, it's such a long time that it could be trillions of years. So the souls of good people is sent to, they say, some space which we cannot visualize. The matter is separated, and this is their nirvana. This is their ultimate success which they can reach in this world. But as far as the bad people are concerned, they are returned immediately. But they are not reborn as humans. They are born as animals. They can even be born as germs in the guts of their children. So, what evidence do they have of life after life here on this earth repeating itself from generation to generation. You understand?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm told by Sadr Sahib Khudam al-Ahmadiyya that it is time for us to stop this and to begin namaz or what?
An opportunity
Achha.
permits.
No, please, no time for you at all this time. Next time when we have a question and answer session, then you may ask. But there is one exemption. That is Bashir Hayat Sahib. Out of respect for Sadr Sahib Ansarullah, his father has been promised by Sadr Sahib Khudam al-Ahmadiyya that he'll give him this opportunity even after the time is over. Bashir Hayat Sahib.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Hazur, I've got two questions, but if you like, I can ask one.
It will be very kind of you.
Hazur, in yesterday's sermons, you explained the miserable condition of Pakistan, which is so bad.
Just
that
incidentally. Just incidentally.
Yes. Banks are absolutely empty, and the money is in plight. Hazur, Pakistan has seen the time of Benazir Bhutto, and now Nawaz Sharif is in power. There seems to be no third person in view of the people.
Yes.
Who can lead the country? Hazur, most kindly tell us how the country can overcome this plight.
I don't know. I can only quote a relative of mine who is now dead, but he has his own special brand of jokes. Once his wife decided to expel a servant because of his misbehavior. And he was a very kind person, this gentleman. He said, for God's sake, don't expel him. Because if Nawaz Sharif went, Benazir will come. You can't escape this. Both are, you know what they are. So if one comes, the other goes, the other comes, when the previous one goes. So it's only some revolution which can take place in the country if Allah so decides. Only such a revolution which is brought about by Allah's will can solve the problems. Right? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then you are lingering on and on, perhaps wanting very much to ask the second question.
Should I ask?
Please do. I can see it from your behavior that you will not return fully satisfied unless you had asked the second question.
Hazur, an Ahmadi friend asked this question, but I do not know the answer. If Hazur kindly give us the answer. Hazur, every year during the Hajj, Muslims performing Hajj sacrifice lot of animals, and large quantity of meat is being wasted. Only small part of it.
Who told him that it is wasted? It's not wasted at all. The Bedouins take away all of it and have it salted dry in the Sahara. And now also I understand they're contemplating, or maybe they have already done it, such companies which can preserve this meat in the form of tins. So nothing is wasted. Thank you.
That I wanted to ask you.
And that is what I have answered.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Jazakallah. Jazakumullah when you leave. Assalamu alaikum. चलें फिर नमाज के लिए